Good morning. I am the Reverend Denise Gouch. My pronouns are she, her, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to worship with the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We are a welcoming congregation, and we deepen our relationships as we serve our congregation's mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world, guided by reason and compassion. I'd like to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us this morning. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you may find it here. If you have questions about our congregation, please contact me. You can find my email address in the staff directory under Contact Us on our website, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you are with us for the live broadcast of this service on Zoom, you may wish to experiment with the view settings at the upper right corner of your screen. And won't you please say hello in the chat? We love knowing you're here. No matter what platform you're using to join us for worship, you can find helpful information like ways to give, the faith development resources for all ages, and more in the worship portal on our website, firstuunash.org. We are so glad you're joining us for worship.
My name is Jay Tiefenbrunn. My pronouns are she, her, and I am pleased to serve as your Director of Music Ministries. Our morning song today is There Is a Love, which is written by UU Minister Reverend Rebecca Parker, with the music by one of my wonderful colleagues, Elizabeth Norton, who serves at First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts. The lyrics will appear on your screen, and I hope that even though you all must be muted, you will join in singing in your own homes. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. We rest in this love.
Good morning. My name is Sally Winkle, and I serve as the co-chair of the Worship Committee. The following poem was written by Sharon Wiley and is entitled, You Are Never Alone. It is okay to be tired of change. It is okay to be tired of everything different. Okay to feel weary of resiliency and wholeness and learning and growth. And okay to yearn simply for rest. It's okay to be grouchy and unsatisfied and all the ordinary human ways of being that we are. Let this morning be a reminder that you are loved. Let our time together soothe what is restless in you. May you be comforted in knowing that whatever you are feeling today and other days, you are not alone. You are never alone. Come, let us worship together. The words for the chalice lighting were written by Laura Thompson and entitled Across the Distance. Across the distance, the light from within me shines, sending love to all. Across the distance, your light is fuel that warms me and helps to keep my own light burning. Together, we keep the flame of community burning bright.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Diane Dowgiert, Developmental Lead Minister of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. My pronouns are she, her. I have a special ceremony to begin our worship time together today. We're commissioning a transitions team. Developmental ministry at its most successful is a ministry of the congregation. While my role as developmental minister includes facilitating the transitional work that the church will undertake, a strong collaboration between minister and congregation is vital to achieve positive, healthy transformation in the life of the congregation. Thus, your board of directors has named a transitions team to support and promote the work of this developmental period. The board, in appointing people to serve on the transitions team, considered those who are well-known and well-respected in the congregation and who have demonstrated their commitment to the health of the congregation's ministry.
I'm Doug Pastor Crosby. I'm your board president. Pronouns he, him. The following have agreed to serve on the transitions team. Chairman, Jessica Himmelreich, Christopher Cotton, Jessica Moore-Lucas, Jason Plummer, Gail Spar, Nancy Stott, and Tom Surface. These members of our congregation have graciously agreed to serve in this important role as we journey together during this developmental time as part of their continuing service as leaders in this community.
During the developmental time, we will focus on the rich heritage of the congregation, its leadership and mission, connections to resources and services that support the church, and the best ways to move toward a promising future. Congregational leaders have also committed to the work on 3 developmental goals: reviewing and renewing the congregation's mission and vision, revising the congregation's governance structure, and planning for improvements to the church campus, including capital campaigns to raise needed funds.
Your board of directors has set before you a charge to monitor and nurture the health of the ministry and monitor the progress of the congregation in addressing the focus areas as outlined in the developmental ministry agreement. Do you, the members of the transition team, accept this charge? Saying I do. Jessica Himmelreich, chair. Christopher Cotton.
Yes, I do.
Jessica Moore-Lucas.
I do.
Jason Plummer.
I do.
Gail Spar.
I do.
Nancy Stott.
I do.
Tom Surface.
I do.
Members of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville, will you entrust the members of the transitions team with the sacred task of helping to guide us through this developmental period of our congregational life? Will you honor their wisdom, longstanding experience, and dedication as they provide good counsel and good energy during this transition time in the spirit of joy and growth, anticipating our bright future together? If so, unmute yourselves and respond, "We will."
We
We
will.
will.
We will.
We will.
We will.
In my work with you, I pledge to communicate openly and respectfully with this team and to align my priorities with those of the congregation, supporting the work on the goals and your preparation for the next ministry. May we all engage together with intention and love in the possibilities that lie ahead during this developmental ministry. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning. I am Marguerite Mills, your Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and my pronouns are she, her. What we have this morning is a wisdom story. It is called The Fable of Kintsukuroi. Once upon a time in the far, far east, there lived a great emperor in a great palace, gorgeously stocked with the richest of goods. It was early spring, the season of royal visits, when kings and princes called on one another and admired each other's choicest possessions, gave wonderful gifts, and enjoyed bountiful banquets. And this year was special because the visitors would see the investiture of his beloved son, Kintsukuroi, as crown prince of the empire. The emperor was excited this year because he had a new and beautiful bowl to show his friends, specially made for him by the finest craftsmen from the finest of materials. Imagine then his horror when, going to his cabinet, he discovered that it was broken into 100 pieces. How could it have happened? No one knew. What could be done about it before the first visitors arrived? No one could offer any idea, for the time was too short to start again and make another one. The emperor was dismayed, sad that he could not show off his beautiful bowl, but even sadder that something so beautiful should have been broken. He retired into his private apartments with only his beloved son to share his sorrow, and they talked long into the night. Next morning, the emperor woke to the sound of a great commotion. His senior ministers demanded to see him urgently. The cabinet of treasures had been broken into. And this time, the great new golden crown that had been made for his beloved son, ready for the investiture, was simply gone, along with the broken pieces of the broken bowl, but who cared about those now? No one knew for sure where the thief had gone, but he had, they thought, run off towards the prince's apartments. There, the doors were most unusually now locked, and there was no answer to their knocking, though they could hear sounds inside. Would the emperor give his permission for them to break down the door? The emperor was silent for many minutes. On his face, his ministers saw sadness, but not anger, lament, but also love. What was going on? Eventually, the emperor spoke. Leave the prince and his apartments alone. If he is ready to rule, he must be allowed to act. His will and my will are as one. The ministers were not at all sure just what this meant, but the message was clear. They were to do precisely nothing. So the day passed. The emperor remained in his private apartments. Those of the prince remained locked, though smoke could be seen coming out of the chimney and a fire had obviously been lit. and eventually the ministers tired of their waiting and went to bed. The important guests were expected the very next day. Imagine now their surprise in the morning when they went to the treasure cabinet to prepare its items for display. And they found the precious bowl back in its place, whole again, but glistening with veins of gold where the cracks had been. Its beauty seemed all the greater. And by it, the prince's crown, a slim band now, but speaking in its simplicity of a strength and authority all the more striking, because it had given glory to another and was the greater itself for it. The investiture could go ahead. A smile of secret understanding passed between the emperor and the son, whose newly scarred hands showed him worthy to come into the kingdom. And so ends our story.
Thank you, Marguerite. That's a wonderful story of community and sharing and giving to those things that are important to us. This morning, we are really fortunate to have congregant Kathy Miller to share a stewardship testimonial, her own story, with this congregation.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Hiller. My husband Dan and I have been active members of First UU for over 40 years. As many of you know, there have been 3 generations of our family who have belonged to this church, and our family has been deeply involved in many ways. The Unitarian Church was and continues to be a home for families seeking a spiritual connection with like-minded people. While I have been on various committees, the committee I have been on the longest is the Caring Committee. Through the Caring Committee, the church shows its love for members during times of need. Like many other groups, we have been unable to meet in person and we miss each other. We have continued to reach out to members with phone calls, cards, and meals, but we miss being able to be together for senior brunches and help families in person during memorial services. The Caring Committee has been there for us when we needed them so much during times of loss in our family. We felt that love and compassion this year when Dan's mother, Phyllis, died. Although we couldn't have a service in person, Reverend Diane, Trigg, Sherry, and many other volunteers helped us make her beautiful virtual memorial service possible. Numerous members of the church expressed their love and concern for us through phone calls and cards. So I know firsthand that what the Caring Committee does, helping to care for our members in times of need, is essential and beautiful. Dan and I were married at the church, and when we had our sons, they formed lifelong friendships and developed a deep connection to the church through children's religious education and through the music program. Many of our best memories are from being together for services, dinners, retreats, and Christmas Eve services. So we want to help others experience what we experience, and that's why we give to the church. We all miss being together in person, but we continue to reach out to each other whenever and wherever possible, virtually and by phone, to keep this sense of connection alive. This sense of community and spiritual connection has been so supportive and important to our family and will continue to be in the future, and is the reason Dan and I are pledging our financial support. We look forward to our future and when our church community can meet in person again.
Thank you, Kathy, for sharing your story with us. In this season of virtual offering bowls, we are especially grateful for the steady generosity which allows us to continue creating community, nurturing spiritual growth, and acting on our values, both within and beyond our congregation. You may know that we share every Sunday's collection with an organization whose work outside our walls aligns with our values. Share the Plate funds for the month of February will enable our congregation's annual participation in the Habitat for Humanity Interfaith Build. The worship portal on our website, firstuunash.org, contains more information about Habitat, as well as a link to our online donation form. As always, your gifts, like your presence among us, are received with gratitude.
I'm like one of those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. I have some cracks in me. They have been filled with gold. That's what they used back then when they had a bowl to mend. It did not hide the cracks, it made them shine instead. So now every old scar shows from every time I broke, and anyone's eyes can see I'm not what I used to be, but in a collector's mind, all of these jagged lines make me more beautiful and worth a higher price. I'm like one of those Japanese bowls. I was made long ago. I have some cracks, you can see how they shine of gold.
Thank you, Jay. That was really beautiful. Holding all that we know of our cracks, our own cracks, the cracks in the world, and our efforts to rebuild, to put things back together, to make them beautiful in new ways. Let us lift our hearts together in a spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, we know that you are also the spirit of change. Change that comes welcomed and unexpected and sometimes unwelcome. You are the spirit of transformation, the spirit of picking up pieces, mending things, creating something that has not been before. Be with us as we enjoy our time today. May we find together comfort, strength, encouragement, resilience. May we find the will to build and create and repair so that the world we live in shines through all of its cracks. Amen. Blessed be. May we make it so.
Thank you, Denise, for grounding us in that spirit of prayer. The playwright Lillian Hellman once noted that people change and forget to tell each other. And the singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen once said, "There's a crack in everything That's how the light gets in. A year ago, the words coronavirus and COVID were just beginning to make their way into our vocabulary, along with pandemic, even global pandemic. Though we couldn't fully understand the implications of those words, the impending sense of crisis caused people to do what people do to prepare for the unknown, which is to stock up with basic supplies. Water and toilet paper flew off the shelves. Hand sanitizer and Lysol became hot commodities, along with flour and yeast, as we braced ourselves for lockdown. Church leaders started making plans to safely close buildings, equip staff to work from home, and figure out how the heck to worship online and keep the community connected while physically distanced. By the end of March, it all became real. Non-essential businesses, schools, and churches shut their doors. Collectively, we held our breath, waiting, hoping, praying for things to go back to normal. A year later, and we've settled into a new normal. And the glimmer of hope is just now appearing at the end of the lockdown tunnel. The words coronavirus, COVID, and pandemic are part of everyday conversation now because they are part of our everyday reality. From grieving the loss of those taken by the disease, to maybe having the disease ourselves or caring for someone who does, to doing all that we can to keep the virus at bay, to counting the days or weeks or months until vaccination becomes available, to having received the vaccination. The pandemic alone would be enough, but there's more. It's been said that what we've been through is like 1918, 1929, and 1968 combined. A pandemic, a deep recession, and civil unrest. To say it's been traumatic would not be an overstatement. Not equally so for everyone, and still, we've all been through a deeply distressing and disturbing experience, which is the definition of trauma. What then will love look like after COVID? Love is central to our Unitarian Universalist faith. You might even say it's the connective fiber that holds us together. Love of neighbor, love of self, love of life. Love is like the veins of gold, reuniting the broken pieces of Prince Kinsukore's bowl. When we emerge from our various lockdown tunnels, we will be different, changed. Some of the change will be visible. More wrinkles for some of us, more hair, less hair, more weight, less weight, shorter, taller, another year older. Some of the changes will be less visible, but nonetheless real. Some will emerge with new skills, more strength, and more courage, having discovered deep wells of resilience. Others will emerge still broken, still putting the pieces back together. All of us will emerge carrying a heft of grief and sorrow, and all of us will emerge carrying the impact of trauma in our bodies. The other night, I was doing the thing that a lot of us are doing during this pandemic. I was binge watching an old TV series, Grey's Anatomy. It's a television show that came from what I call the before time, the time before the pandemic. One scene was set at a party. It was a large, crowded party with people talking, laughing, and sharing food. In the before time, that scene would have made my body relax. I love a good party, good food, and good conversation in the company of good friends. It doesn't get better than that. Living in the after time, as I do, as we do, the time after a microscopic virus changed how we live, that party scene made me anxious until I reminded myself that the people on the screen weren't really engaged in risky behavior. What they were doing was normal in the before time. Then there's the recurring dream. Everyone I know has had some version of the dream of being in a familiar place with familiar people, doing familiar things, only to awaken with a bolt. Because in the dream, everyone was too close. People were shaking hands and hugging, and no one was wearing a mask. Once awake, the fear gives way to a deep yearning for the way things used to be. My version of that dream often takes place in a church, because that's where I spend most of my time. At least I did in the before time. These days, I spend a fair amount of my time trying to imagine what the church will look like after we've emerged from our various lockdown tunnels and when we can be in person together again. Trying to imagine how we will embody love after COVID, the kind of love that is so central to the practice of our faith as Unitarian Universalists. One of the oldest covenants that is spoken in many of our UU congregations today begins with the words, "Love is the doctrine of this church." In other words, love is what we teach. It is commonly agreed among us that love is a verb. We teach love by what we do. How then will we love ourselves and each other, knowing that we've all been changed? How will we love our neighbors and the world, knowing they've been changed? It begins by remembering to tell ourselves and each other just that we have changed. We're not who we used to be. Love after COVID most likely means that worship services will not exactly look like or feel or sound like they did before in the before time. And probably neither will social hour or religious education classes, because they will be crafted not for the people we used to be, but for the people we have become. Love after COVID begins with a spirit of curiosity about each other and how each of us has changed. It's like meeting each other again for the first time, And if we engage with that spirit of curiosity about how we will be together in a changed world, we will make the space that we need. It begins with making a healing space, filling the broken and cracked places with the golden elixir of love, letting it knit us back together into one strong body, a useful vessel containing and holding the spirit of life. We do this by being present to each other, listening to the stories of how this time has been for us, not hiding our cracks, but letting them show, seeing, hearing, and loving each other into being who we are now, as beautiful or even more beautiful than before. What will undoubtedly remain unchanged is our shared commitment to life-affirming values of truth, reason, compassion, and love. Love in action. Love after COVID looks like love in action, doing what we have always done, working to make more justice and more peace in the world. May it be so, and may we make it so through our living.
Our closing song was collected by Alan Lomax, the renowned musicologist who collected songs, stories, and environmental sounds of communities in America, the Caribbean, Africa, and indeed all over the world. There Is More Love Somewhere comes from Bessie Jones of the Georgia Sea Islands and the Christian traditions of the African American people who were living there. If you research Lomax's archive, you will find a recording of Miss Jones singing this song, and it is very different from how we are used to singing it and the transcription that is in our hymnal. One of the key features of Negro spirituals and gospel music is the expression of the struggle and the hope. Today, our version is not quite up-tempo, but not quite as slow as you may have sung it previously. I invite you to sing out in your homes, and if you'd like to see each other singing, in the upper right corner of your Zoom window, if you are worshiping live with us in Zoom, you can tap on the view and choose gallery, and you can commune with everyone singing. I will line out the words. This is what is called a zipper song, with one word changing for each verse. And I am forever grateful to our collaborative pianist, Hollingsmith Bourne, for providing me with the hymn accompaniments. So let us sing There Is More Love Somewhere, Hope, Peace, and Joy. And I will call those out. Let us sing together. Love. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. Hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. Peace. There is more peace somewhere.
The words for the chalice extinguishing were written by Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I leave you with words that were written by Philip Giles. May the quality of our lives be our benediction and a blessing to all whom we touch. This service has ended. May our service to the world continue. Go in peace. Go in love.